Good afternoon, everyone. Dear Lions, welcome to the STEEROP presentation. My name is Mehdi Triki. I am co-founder and VP Sales of RoamSmart, and we started the journey back in 2012 with a vision to automate the roaming delivery and the roaming management process. So to help the operators and roaming teams to centralize, to digitize, and automate as much as possible from the daily activities around setting up and maintaining hundreds of roaming relationships. So we are, of course, GSMA Associate member. We have been the first accredited vendor within the I/O initiative this year. We have also partnerships with roaming with vendors from the roaming space. For instance, Comphone, Yana, EDCH, and Bix. So we collaborate with our partners. We try to build integrations and APIs. I think one of the keywords from this event is automation, is collaboration, is integration, is API. And we are an active supporter of this because we think that it adds value for the operators to have a bigger scope, and integrated platforms. Our company has been awarded a couple of times during the last year based on ROCCO surveys when it comes to best roaming operational tools, best customer support quality, and we've been also in the last Innovators competitions. Today, we are very glad to serve 130 plus customers in almost 100 countries, including groups and individual opcos. So our offering is based on what we call a unified roaming platform. So it's a one-stop shop, big data platform. On top of it, we built individual applications, and each application is really covering a specific challenge from the daily activity. It's an evolving platform, so in average, every year we add 1 to 2 new modules to cover additional challenges. Today, we have 11 applications on the platform. This ranges from RIX management, IR21 IoT and op data, to workflow management, document repository, roaming audit and configuration audit, inbound roaming market share, TADIC validation, automation, discount contract management, rollout optimization, and others, up to our latest innovation, which is STEEROP. So you will notice that a big part of the roaming hackathon challenge is already covered by our unified platform. But the focus of today's session is STEEROP. So the challenge that we are trying to address with STEEROP, Steering Optimizer, is basically the fact that operators today are signing more and more discount agreements. So if you look back like 10 years back, you would have one discount agreement with your preferred partner, the top partner. But today you can have 2, 3, 4, or even more discount agreements in the same country. And these discount agreements can have different models. So you can have flat rate, threshold, tiers, balance and balance, send or pay, commitments, different types of innovative discount agreements. And this makes it, of course, challenging to know how you best distribute your outbound traffic. Based on all these commitments and deals that you have, how you could optimize this distribution of your outbound traffic so that you get the best out of it, so that you fulfill your commitments, and at the same time, you can reduce your wholesale costs. In addition to that, steering platforms are mostly working on update location, not on traffic, but you negotiate traffic at the end of the day, not update locations. So that's the challenge that we are trying to cover, is to help the commercial roaming managers to find out what is the best distribution and how you can make the best out of your outbound traffic. If we take a simple basic example, like a destination with 3 discount agreements, but all of them are flat rate with different prices, then it's quite straightforward. You don't need really a tool for this. You just send your 100% to the lowest price. You can send few percentages to other ones if you want to look for quality issues or whatever, but you don't need a tool for this. But this is not the reality, actually. The reality would look more like this. Like we have 2 visited countries. In the first one, you have a commitment on traffic. You have 1 group commitment on charge. You have a flat rate. In the second country, you have also a tiered pricing model. You have a second affiliate of the same first group deal, and you have another affiliate which belongs to another group. So there is an interdependency between the destinations and the countries, and here it gets really complex and tricky to know what are the percentages to put there on the steering platform? What is the best distribution of my traffic so that I can make sure to fulfill and to cover these commitments, and on top of that, optimize my wholesale costs? And that's the objective of STEEROP, is really to propose to you what are the optimal distribution and percentages that you need to configure on your steering platform. So I want to say it a few times. STEEROP is not a steering platform. So we are not doing any steering. It's the step before the steering platform. So it will suggest to you what are the values that you need to configure on your steering platform. So that's the purpose. It's, of course, based on advanced mathematical modeling and optimization algorithm. And for those who love mathematics, it's a nonlinear convex optimization algorithm, which is applied based on these inputs to come up with the result. In terms, the solution has mainly 3 pillars. The first one is digitize. So it is also addressing the workflow part. So the steering request that when you decide about the values to implement, you need to create a work order or steering request that you send to the engineer who will implement it on the steering platform. So that part is also covered as a workflow for digital part, so that you have visibility on the history of your steering values, and you can also get a commitment and confirmation that it has been implemented as requested. The second pillar is optimization. As I said, it's a business optimization, which will suggest to you the optimal distribution. And it's, of course, it's a monthly recalculation. Okay, so you do one calculation at the beginning of the year, and then at the end of each month, you load the realized traffic values, and based on that, the system will do a recalculation. And in case there is an adjustment to be done, it will recommend this adjustment. The third one is, of course, monitoring. So it will allow you to follow up on your costs evolution month by month, compared to the expected initial values, but also to have the impact of your steering performance, for example, so you can detect some challenges based on that. The inputs, as I said, at the beginning of the year is the list of all your deals with the details, with the prices, and your traffic forecast. These are the 2 inputs which are needed for STEEROP. And then every month we need the realized traffic values to be inserted in the system so that we can do a recalculation. Based on that, the system will apply the algorithm and will give you what we call a decision or a steering recommendation decisions. And here the user has the flexibility either to accept them as they are, or the user can do what we call manual enforcement or manual configuration. Because sometimes you might have other business aspects that the algorithm is not aware of, and you want to influence that. You can say, okay, I still want to give 5% to that operator, 2% to that operator, and the system will do a recalculation based on your assumptions, your manual assumptions, and will give you then the updated distribution. Once that's done, you can move to the workflow part. You can create the requests from there and get them implemented and confirmed, and you can also have reporting on the historical evolution of the steering configuration. The third step, which would be the ideal case, is also to integrate directly with steering platform. Okay, so you don't need to send the request to an engineer to implement on the steering platform, but you can directly, if there is an API with the steering platform, directly send the configuration, and the API can respond back if it's already done with a confirmation. So we have been working on this solution for almost 2 years. And end of 2022, we were looking for the first pilot customer, and we have selected Orange Tunisia to be the first pilot customer. So we had a couple of sessions with them to explain the scope, to get some initial feedback from them. We started the POC in February this year. We got the result. We got some feedback from them. We implemented some changes, so we released the second version in April. In terms of business model, it's a pretty much standard SaaS model, so it's a monthly subscription in addition to a setup fee. Now, coming to the POC itself, so it's done on 2022 data. Okay, so we took from Orange Tunisia all the deals that they had in 2022 and all the traffic values that they had, and we used that as an input to the system to simulate as if they were using it at the beginning of 2022. So we took the result and the recommendation from STEEROP, the yearly wholesale cost, and they were able to compare to what they really had in reality. Very important to look at the profile of the operator. So Orange Tunisia has 625 roaming partners on tally code level, almost 50% on discount. The deals that they use are mainly flat rate and some SOP on traffic and charge, so they are not using any tier, they are not using any balance and balanced. They have a quite unbalanced traffic distribution, so 80% of the traffic is going mainly to 3 destinations. And they do a very detailed weekly follow-up on their traffic distribution. So all this to say that it's a more or less simple profile when you look at it. They don't have a lot of group deals and a lot of interdependency, which limits the room for optimization. Okay. Anyway, despite that, the system STEEROP was able to reach a yearly wholesale cost reduction by 5.9% on the full year of 2022. So to summarize again, the benefits of STEEROP mainly is process automation, so workflow for steering requests, follow up on the historical evolution of the steering, so cost cutting and resource optimization. Steering performance monitoring, so also it will allow you to check if the performance is doing fine, if there are some behaviors of anti-steering on the other side, of blacklisting or whatever. But mainly, the added value is wholesale cost reduction. So it's optimizing your distribution so that you can reduce the overall wholesale costs. And I think that's it from my side. Thank you.
Now for questions from the Lions and Lionesses. Who wants to start?
Hello. Thank you, Mehdi. Very good presentation, very clear. But I can't help thinking back to the presentation you did last year when it was also optimization of which services to launch. How does that feed in here? Because I didn't see any link to which services were actually in play when you look at how to optimize the steering.
Very good question. So last year was rollout optimization. So it was suggesting who are the best roaming partners to address where you start 5G or VoLTE or any new service opening activity. They are both based on the same inputs. So they are both based on what you have already as coverage, what services the others are supporting. Are they ready for NB-IoT, for VoLTE or 5G, etc.? This is coming from R21. And also your traffic. So if you have a lot of traffic, they will suggest, okay, it makes sense to start with someone where you have already a good market share, we have already a discount agreement, etc. The STEEROP is the same input, so it will take what traffic you have or what traffic you are expecting and what deals you have. But it's really focusing on the mathematical optimization. So it's really solving this problem, which is pretty much impossible to solve with Excel, because when you have group to group and OPCO to group, it cannot be solved with a formula on Excel. But they are complementing each other at the end of the day, because they will help you to improve, to open with the right ones, and then to distribute your traffic in an optimal way.
Thank you. So the STEEROP is based only on what you actually have launched and what is available. So it's not also using what you predict to be launching in, say, 2 or 3 months' time, let's say.
No, it can take into consideration what you are expecting if you have the data for that. So, okay, if you can say, now, this is the status today, but after 6 months, I will launch 5G with this discount agreement and this model, then it will be taken into consideration in the whole optimization of the year, of course, yes. And also, in the monthly recalculation, in the monthly update, you can enter new inputs. You can say, okay, this month I have already signed a new agreement and the deal has changed, the price has changed, or structure has changed. So this also will be impacted. That's why we do a monthly recalculation, because there might be things which can change in the meantime. So it's important to also consider them.
So sorry, final then. So you can as you say, reset the conditions, preconditions, depending on things out of your control or a new retail proposition, so you can override, let's say, the forecast of the budget that you have?
Yes. So every end of the month, since you are anyway uploading the realized traffic, because it's important to have the realized traffic, because it might impact what is coming next, you can also change your discount profile. You have new discounts, you have new prices, you have new commitments, you can enter them, and it will be considered and included in the new algorithm calculation.
I have a question related to the logic. Once you start to build the logic for in the beginning of the year, you told us that you are taking two factors. First, our my IoT agreements. The second thing is the forecast.
Yeah.
You are not taking into consideration the old data or the historical data. So I think this will give you more indication in building the logic in the beginning of the year.
Yes, so that's a good angle, which is important, I must admit, is because some operators now we start talking to, they say, okay, we would prefer if you can do the forecasting for us. Okay, maybe you can look at the last year data, and then you can see if there is an event happening somewhere, then you can expect to do that. It's not yet there. We are not, for the moment, we are not touching the forecast. We expect to get it from the operator, because we expect the operator as well to do this anyway, because if you have a BI system, for example, you do a budget simulation for next year, then you will do your own forecast of traffic. So we expect to get that traffic forecast from you as a ready one. Maybe in next versions we might see if we can help there, but the forecast will come from the operator.
Okay, my second question, the tool is working based on the monthly basis data, then you analyze and then optimize for the next month.
Yeah.
Do you see that 1 month is a big time? Because, for example, if anything happened during the month, I will not be able to see it unless at the end of the month. Can the system work on real-time data, or at least maybe have alerts or something that can tell me that there's something wrong or something need to be changed even during the month?
Very good question as well. So that's also a point which we've been thinking of at the beginning. We've asked some of our customers, and most of the answer is we ask them, how often do you look at your steering, or you update your steering calculation or configuration? And maybe I think 90% is a monthly basis. That's why we went for the monthly basis. The monthly basis is only for the calculation itself. So if you want for the monitoring and the follow-up on the reporting, it can go on a more higher frequency if you give us. So it will also depend on the frequency where we get from you the realized data. If you send us weekly report, then we can do the calculation and we can do the alarming on a weekly basis.
I have a question about the type of data that you need to enable this. So my understanding is that you need a copy of the DCH feed, right? And also the deal details. So is that correct? Or what do you need from the operators to be able to?
Okay, so as I said, we need two inputs. The first one is the list of your discount agreements that you have for, let's say, year 2024. All the deals which are impacting that period of time. It might start in the middle or it might end in the middle. It's not a problem. But all the deals which are impacting the year that we are working on, we need them in any format you have. If you have the data already in a BI system or a DCH, you can extract this and send it to us. That's input number one. It's the deals with all the conditions, the prices, the tiers, everything, commitments, whatever. The second part is the traffic. The first, when you start, is the traffic forecasting. So we need traffic aggregated on monthly basis. Okay, we don't need CDRs, we don't need tab files, we don't need individual events. So we need an aggregation on monthly basis. At the beginning, it will be a forecast for the next year, but then it will be a monthly report that you can extract from your DCH. So it's a monthly aggregated traffic per month per operator.
And in terms of integration, because most of the operators have their own steering of roaming platform, or they outsource that to a supplier, how would be that integration done between your solution and the steering of roaming platforms?
As I said, steering of roaming integration, we have placed this as a third step, so that's the ideal case. Okay, we will start, and probably it will only come with real customer requests, is that we talk to the steering platform providers and see if they have an API. We have an API and we see how to integrate. Okay, it's not done in the first version. because it's difficult to work on integration where there is no real case. But I guess it's something which can be done because it will be a simple API to push the configurations that they need to implement.
Any more questions from the lines? Annalie?
So can you also steer on segmentation on different customer types or technology types? I'm not steer, but I mean forecast or suggest steering based on this as well.
Yes. So the logic, the algorithm is done in the way that if you have a certain type of traffic where you have a dedicated deal, let's say you have a discount deal only for IoT traffic, okay, alone, and you are able to give us the traffic separated. So the monthly traffic would be then for IoT separated, for the rest is separated, then it's fine, yes. So then we can optimize different segments differently, okay? But that's the condition. So you have to segregate or separate this, and you have also to be able to set steering rules differently for this type of traffic. Then yes, we can do it as an optimization as well.
The overall solution is including 11 modules, as you informed us in the beginning of the presentation. Is it a prerequisite that I have the other modules so I can have the steering optimizer, or just I can have separate modules separately?
Yeah, good question. Of course, all the modules are built separately. The apps are built separately. But of course, we have a lot of added value when you combine some of them or all of them. Okay, so just a simple example, if you have our deals module, which is managing where you can enter your discount agreements, where you can create the discount contract, you have to have that in place, and you take STEEROP, you don't need to get, so then you have the data of the deals. So there is no need to get an extra or an external case. Same thing if you are using roll-up, then you have already the traffic, the monthly traffic, because it's a prerequisite for roll-up. Then for STEEROP, you don't need that. So it's an added value to combine them, and we are trying to build additional intelligence between the modules to get some extra insights into the business, but it's not a prerequisite. So each module is built individually so that you can use it alone.
So my understanding is that you are trying to maximize from the commercial perspective, right? And from the customer perspective, customer experience perspective, how are you taking into account that? Is the tool monitoring also the registration duration that might be impacted by the steering decision, or is simply maximizing the commercial part?
It's focusing, as I said, on the commercial, on the pure mathematical optimization. And as I said, we have added this flexibility to do a manual insertion. So you as a user, you can say, okay, I want you to optimize this, but still I need to give whatever, minimum 2% to everyone because of quality issues, coverage issues, or 5% or whatever. So you can, as a user, you can do these conditions, you can enter them into the system, and the optimization will be done on this, respecting your requests. Okay. This is what we have added in the second version, because in the first version it was like 100% 0-0, but this is not. This is pure machine output. So the second version, it is adapted on the whole year. So it will distribute the traffic on the whole year without big changes. And it will allow you as well to put this manual prerequisites that you know that the machine cannot know. So there are business aspects that only the roaming manager can know for specific regions, for specific coverage issues that an algorithm cannot know. So you have the option to input that manually, and it will be reflected in the optimization.
Yes, we can have a last question.
Yeah, again, my doubts have been clarified with the questions already made. There's one thing is not yet completely clear for me. Will we get a recommendation only on steering, or can we get a combined recommendation on steering and footprint? That we could use both for our pipeline, for IREG, and for the steering platform? Because in some cases, we would not want to steer to, for instance, a network which does not offer data, or Camel, for instance. Yeah. But we would like a flag to be raised saying you could save money if you launch this service, because then you would steer. Okay. Is that a possible output of the current service?
Not for the current version. So the current version is proposing the steering distribution optimized, but it will show you in the view, it will show you as well your current coverage. So it will show you your current service opening because it can impact your manual intervention, but it will not highlight this to you. It doesn't have the intelligence yet, but it's a very good point that I'm taking back with me. It's a good idea. Now, rollout optimization, as I said, is a separate solution. So we have optimization for the rollout, but not related to steering. Yeah, so it's a separate one.
They should be combined, yes, because on the other hand, a rollout recommendation cannot forget about pricing. Yeah. It's not a good recommendation to tell someone who's paying 1 that they should be launching Camel with the network costing 5 or something like that.
That's already there. That's in the rollout optimization is there. So it's taking into consideration who is ready for that service and with whom you have already a traffic share, a good traffic share, and what's the unit price that you have there. So it's combining all of them so that you take the decision based on the combination of technical and commercial and pricing.
Okay. You also mentioned that you could detect anti-steering, or maybe I mixed it up, but
it's to detect gaps. So at the end of the day,
okay. Because I was wondering how you could detect anti-steering if all you get from us can be an Excel spreadsheet.
I don't know. Of course, it will require further troubleshooting on the signaling, etc. But it's about the gap. So if you configure 50% and then after a month we tell you you are sending 70%, then there is something which is not correct. Either the other one is taking too much or there is an issue somewhere. It's detecting the gap, and then you need to do further analysis, which we don't do.
And lastly, what would be required for a proof of concept? Only a file with the footprint and the pricing?
Yes, so we thought the best approach for a POC, which is actually it's a real business case. So we take last year all the traffic that you have had and all the prices that you had, and we simulate as if we are starting with a system, and we'll tell you what you would have had as a result. So all what we need is for a specific year, all the traffic data, all the deals that you have, and that's it. And we will give you what would have been the result of STEEROP, and you can compare.
What could have been the best expectation of the service? Because it's hardly. It would be, you would be assuming that the networks had a 100% efficiency in attracting the traffic. And in reality, our main challenge is that currently there's a big gap between the objective, the market share, and the actual market share.
I agree.
There's nothing you can help us.
For a POC, for a POC, at least you get an indication how the cost would have been with STEEROP. But you need to take into consideration this gap, which we cannot predict and we cannot also input. But at least you have an indication how much you can save in terms of costs.
Okay, thank you, Lions. Any question from the audience? One question? Yeah, if we can get a mic over here, please.
Hey, that makes a lot of sense. For me, the conversion of the business objective automatically into the technical enforcement piece. So from a steering point of view, one basic question, which is just, will you use my API or do I have to implement yours? And second question then is just on the forecasting itself. is there any challenges around seasonality, you know, in terms of forecasting, let's say, where this month it looks like we're way behind our target and commitment, but in summer we know we're going to make it up. So is there any challenge with seasonality as well in your forecasting?
So the first question is needs to be discussed. I cannot tell you API. It's probably if there is a ready API on the steering platform side, then it's probably that one to be used. The second question, I'm not sure if I got it, but the forecasting, I mean, it's important. Traffic forecasting is important. If the operator is having traffic forecasting which is way different from the reality, then it will impact, of course, in any case, because when they configure steering based on a forecasting, on a certain expectation of traffic. So if their expectation is far away from the reality, then there will be an issue in all cases, with our solution or without.
Thank you.